Hello, Milena.
Hello.
I'm very touched.
I know. Thank you. You visit me.
And I think you do great work.
It is and very hard. They cannot do nothing.
Bosnia and Herzegovina sits on the Balkan Peninsula in southern Eastern Europe. Its countryside is home to medieval villages, rivers, lakes, and the dramatic Dinaric Alps. Some 3.6 million people call this picturesque country home. Glass-fronted buildings and modern developments sit alongside war-torn ruins, a landscape reminder of the Bosnian conflict of the 90s. As victims of this war and a society then and now with little animal welfare, hundreds of dogs were misplaced and left to wander. Without homes, the dog population on the streets soon grew. In the last decade, thousands of dogs have been captured, tortured, thrown into unregulated death camps, and left to die.
So, coming out of that dreadful shelter just outside Sarajevo today, I'm sure that Roger felt the same. I couldn't really articulate my thoughts immediately after that, because what I witnessed was just so totally and absolutely devastating. The sound, the smell, the desperation in the dogs is quite devastating. Well, apart from the fact that we have no right whatsoever to treat any living animal the way in which these dogs are treated, it is quite disgusting. There is no welfare whatsoever. There is no humanity and no kindness. But what I found particularly penetrating was the hopelessness that these dogs felt.
So I needed time to process. It was overwhelming. It's probably the single biggest word I would use for what I saw in there. The sheer number of these animals that were in what I would consider probably among the most horrific conditions I've witnessed, certainly on that scale. It blows your mind. There were the range of dogs that were in there. There were puppies that still had that puppy look and that still that hope in their face, and you would walk in and you would see this puppy, the whole litter of puppies come up to the bars, and what's happening, that intrigue, that interest, that fascination that puppies have. There were a number of dogs that had just given up. They were there just not even really interacting, not doing what I would say is a normal interaction between a human and a dog in that situation.
They are dogs that have evolved in a kind of culture and environment where they sense that man doesn't like them, that man has no caring for them. And so, trapped in these disgusting concrete cages that are full of detritus, the effluents that naturally happens when a dog is confined to a space. The floor is covered in crap. And they're sitting in it, and they look helplessly towards me, the person who is visiting this disgusting facility.
There were some that weirdly didn't look that unhealthy, and then there were some that, you know, had obvious fractures of their legs that had reset in the wrong way and were struggling to move. There were a lot of skin issues, quite a bit of what I would assume is mange from a distance. Lots of diarrhea, lots of some blood in the diarrhea on the floor as well. So the dogs were mostly not in a good way. You know, the dogs that did come and jump up on to kind of say hi to us, they had feces in their paws. They were walking on shit all the time, and you could see it impacting in there. And that was their life.
Because there isn't any animal welfare structure in dealing with this problem, the situation is quite hopeless. They're not being cared for, they're not being given any enrichment, they're not being given any nourishment, they're not being given any love. They have no future, and they will have no future until there is a social, humane infrastructure within this devastated country. I mean, the country has had a terrible time, of course.
You know, dogs are amazing. They have this amazing capacity to just keep going and keep trying and keep wanting to be a dog. You know, they have this facility of just enjoying their life, and to see them not have that anymore, I don't have a word for it. I wish I did, but my feeling every time I came out of a kennel, I would come out and look down the line and think, okay, that's got to be it. There can't be any more. You know, the rest of them must be empty. And we would go down and do another one, and we'd go down and do another one. And all I wanted was it to end. I didn't want to be there and seeing these animals.
It's heartbreaking. I could really talk about it for an awful long time because it affects me so deeply, and I do find it difficult to articulate it clearly because it is so shocking and so disgusting. And the Bosnian government has really, really got to do something about this. It's quite devastating.
Now, they are here. They must not come because it is late. It is family of my puppies I saved, and 1, 2, 3. But they have a fright to come.
Yeah. I can see at the end. Is that them at the end there?
There is 2, 3, and 2 on the another side.
Can you see them there?
In 1998, Milena rescued a puppy from the streets of Sarajevo. She named her Bobby, and they were companions for 18 years. Since 2006, Milena has been saving the strays of Sarajevo and has rescued over 1,000 dogs. Tonight we are visiting Milena's 12th floor apartment as one of those dogs is sick. A pile of puppies spilled out of the door to greet us, puppies that had been rescued from shelters like the one we had visited previously. In quarantine on the balcony was Sammy, rescued from the streets and barely breathing.
New glasses.
Thank you.
Yeah, glasses is in my car.
You have the best thing to do.
Okay, very high temperature.
High.
Има висока температура.
How?
So we're 39.9.
39.
40, no, 40.
I get
40.
Yeah.
Yeah. 40.2.
40 10,2.
40.2. So very high. I know, sweetie. I'm saying, oh, sweetie. Okay, this doesn't.
He has pain.
I think she has. Thanks.
Bravo.
Oj.
Bravo.
There we go, sweetness.
Stop it. You think after something. What is
She has pain in her neck.
Boli ju vrat.
She's got pain just here. And that's why I think we have meningitis.
Zato on misli da ima meningitis.
Very, very high temperature and pain in the neck.
Zbog visoke temperature i bolova u vratu.
Yeah.
So I don't think this is going to work with her. So
Može ispasti. Čisto sumnjam, tubo je bila.
okay, let's give her as much fluid as we can under her skin, okay?
Znači što više tekućnica će joj dati pod kožom.
So we need to try to get her temperature down as quickly as we can.
Moramo.
There we go, sweetness. I don't know if she's going to make it.
In certain parks in Sarajevo, we saw people with their well cared for dogs, and as outsiders, we questioned this selective compassion and why these people are not demanding from their government more humane treatment for street dogs, lost dogs, and strays. We spoke to Milena Malesevic, editor and producer of the Bosnian TV show My Pet, and loving owner of 2 dogs.
Political and economical situation in BH forcing citizens to think about their own problems, and they don't think about animals in the last place. Now in Sarajevo we have a really bad situation because the biggest shelter is closed by inspection and they cannot get any new dogs. In Sarajevo we have 2 specialized services and they're catching dog and they kill them, maybe same day or tomorrow, and no one doesn't know how they kill them and what's going on with the dead bodies.
In 2009, Bosnia introduced its Animal Welfare Act. Shock collars were banned, debarking was illegalised, and the killing of any healthy dog or a dog that could be treated and cured by a vet was outlawed. It was also stipulated that any experiments on stray dogs be prohibited. Yet this act has never been enforced, and the dogs of Bosnia continue to suffer. The stray dog problem is exploited by profiteers as an opportunity for corruption and extortion, as money is raised around the world that never reaches the dogs. Genuine rescuers face intimidation and attacks as their legitimate work to raise funds to buy food and medicines is seen as direct competition to the illegal revenue source. We spoke to the International Fund for Animal Welfare, who have had a presence in Bosnia since 2000. 2 weeks after we visited Pracha, it was reported that mass killings took place. When one of our cameramen returned, he managed to film dead dogs that lay discarded in kennels, while others fought to the near death. He was not allowed to leave until he had wiped all this footage from his camera. Historically, these government shelters are known to have the most inhumane conditions imaginable, where dogs die a slow death. During our time in Sarajevo, we met Ozzy. Ozzy was found in a death shelter, starving and unable to walk with open wounds across his body from fleas and mites that had eaten through his skin. To ensure his safety, Milena Malesevic rescued him at 3 a.m. Under Milena's care, he is starting to make a full recovery.
He's with very bad, from Pracha, very bad Demodex. Demodex.
Very bad Demodex. But getting better, you're treating that?
Yeah, better.
What are you using?
Bravecto.
Good.
I give Bravecto.
Milena has a vision to stop the suffering of the strays of Sarajevo, and it all begins on a mountaintop just outside the city centre.
Here we are, we're about half an hour outside Sarajevo. This is a stretch of land, it's 3,000 square meters. It's adjacent to another sanctuary on the left. The boundaries would run parallel on the other side. This land would be cleared, and this in effect would become the sanctuary for Milena, for the dogs that she will be taking from the dreadful shelter that we visited this morning. But as one can see from these dogs over there, they're much less stressed in this environment, of course, and they would have greater freedom.
In 2010, a not-for-profit organisation called Saving Suffering Strays of Sarajevo was set up by a small group of women in the UK who are dedicated to supporting Milena and her work with stray dogs. They fundraise to pay for food and vets bills. In 2017, they achieved charitable status. In Bosnia, Milena employs local people to run kennels for her on their private land. These kennels house the dogs that she has rescued from the death shelters.
What is the hardest thing you have to deal with in your life of rescue?
Sve je teško.
Would it help Milena if she felt that there was a greater feeling towards care for animals within the society she lives, or is that not something that affects her?
Naravno da bi mi značilo mnogo,
It would mean a lot, actually.
imala bi miran san. Ja od početka do danas radim apsolutno sam. To je jako težak posao, čovjek sam ne može sve da uradi. Zato ja imam neku snagu koju mislim da nikad niko nije imao i neće imati. To je moja priroda koja, ja se čudim sama sebi i ja to ne mogu nikome da objasnim, ne mogu sebi da objasnim otkud meni ova snaga, otkud meni ova ljubav, otkud meni osjećaj njihovog bola koji mene rastire. U ovom mom dugogodišnjem teškom životu ja ne znam da se radujem ni kad pružim najbolji život mojim životinjama, a to je odlazak iz ove zemlje, a to je izliječenje od teških bolesti, pa kad ja njih izliječim, jer ja 24 sata sam uz njih kao da sam klinika neka svjetska. Ja ne spavam, ja ne jedem, ja ne živim, ja sam jednostavno, kad je moj pas bolestan, kada je uz mene, na mojoj pažnji, 24 sata, jel to 3 dana, jel to 5 dana, ja čak i kolabiram, padnem u nesvijest, opet sama se digne.
Having spent 2.5 days with Milena and been in her apartment here, it is a clinic. It isn't a home, it's a clinic for animals. And what is terribly moving is that you can see the constant activity to do with animal care that is driven by the work that Milena is doing. Of all of the problems, of all of the dogs, is there one particular problem that is the worst problem?
Ja znam da ja ne mogu da riješim svojim spašavanjem ovim masivnim spašavanjem životinja ja ne mogu da riješim nikakav problem u ovoj zemlji. I ne može niko da ga riješi. Da imam 50 Milena, ne može. O tome ću poslije da pričam. Ne može pojedinci da ovaj problem rješavaju. Ne mogu. Najteže mi je, dakle, ono sve što ja vidim, što mogu da uhvatim, ne mora biti bolest. Ja znam da će ono završiti brzo, a pogotovo ranjeno, a pogotovo iznemoglo, staro. Sve znači što vide moje oči, a što ja mogu da uzmem ovako, da stavim u auto. Ja ga uzmem, ne razmišljam apsolutno gdje ću ja njega da stavim. Na glavu ga stavim, ako ga nemam nigdje, ja ga stavim na glavu. A najteže mi je kada propustim, uvijek to u pitanju drugi faktor, kažem, vratit ću se po toga psa, sačuvaj mi ga. Jer tog momenta ne mogu da ga spasim. Iz nekih razloga. Puno mi auto, nemam ga gdje. Ja kažem, vratit ću se za pola sata, molim te, sačuvaj ga. Ja se vratim, on kaže, pobjego. A onda bi se ja ubila i ubila bi tog što... Najteže mi je, znači, kad sam, što tog momenta nisam nešto izmislila, nešto učinila i nemoguće, to su rijetke moje greške, rijetke. Jučer mi se to desilo, gospodin Peter to zna, jučer mi se desilo, ja to sebi ne mogu nikada da oprostim. Znači, ako ne mogu da ga spasim, kad ga vidim tamo negdje na internetu i ne mogu da ga spasim, nemam fizičke mogućnosti da idem tamo u drugi grad, da ga ja spasim, onda on meni čitavu noć bude.
I have one more question only, and that is, you have one wish.
Imaš jednu želju.
What is your wish?
Koja je tvoja želja?
Imam želju koja se nikad neće ostvariti.
She has a wish that will never come true.
Which is?
Koja je to želja?
Da sve životinje ovog svijeta budu spašene od patnje.
That all animals in this world are saved from suffering.